All right, so let's jump into this deep dive on strategic sourcing. We know you're all interested in going beyond just finding the cheapest deal, and that's what makes this so interesting. It's about understanding total cost of ownership
Absolutely.
and factoring in everything, like quality and reliability,
Hmm.
even those long-term relationships with suppliers.
Yeah, it really is. It's a much more holistic approach
Yeah,
and strategic compared to just chasing the lowest price tag.
exactly. So, like, imagine a company that's spending a fortune on office supplies,
Okay.
but they're buying from all sorts of different vendors.
Right.
Strategic sourcing comes in and helps them see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So maybe they could consolidate those purchases with just one supplier,
Hmm.
one who can offer a volume discount, and that could lead to significant savings.
Exactly. It's all about uncovering those hidden opportunities to optimize spending
Right.
and at the same time improving the entire procurement process.
Okay, so let's break down the 7 key steps involved in strategic sourcing. Would you say these are like a roadmap to smarter procurement?
I would absolutely agree with that.
Okay,
Each step builds upon the last, guiding you towards better decision-making and ultimately better outcomes.
perfect. So step 1 is identify company needs and spend areas. Now, this might sound pretty straightforward,
Sure.
but what's the real strategy behind it?
Well, you're essentially conducting a deep dive into your company's spending habits.
Okay.
It's not just about looking at what you're buying, but it's about understanding the quantities,
Hmm.
the frequency, and the overall spend across different categories.
Yeah.
So by really grasping where your money is going,
Okay.
you can start to identify areas where you might be overspending,
Right.
or perhaps where there are opportunities to consolidate purchases and negotiate better deals.
So it's kind of like putting your spending under a microscope.
Exactly. And it's during this step that you often uncover some surprising
Oh,
insights.
really?
Things that might have been overlooked or taken for granted before.
Wow. Makes sense. Okay, so moving on to step 2. Conduct supply market analysis. What are some of the key aspects we should focus on here?
Here we need to zoom out and consider the broader landscape.
Okay.
It's about understanding the dynamics of the supply market itself, identifying potential suppliers,
Mm-hmm.
assessing their capabilities, and even anticipating any potential risks that might be lurking out there.
So it's about doing your research before jumping into any commitments.
Precisely. Let's take the example of a tech firm sourcing electronic components.
Okay.
We've all been hearing about the global chip shortage these past couple of years.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, understanding that kind of market dynamic is crucial for anticipating supply constraints, managing risks, and planning accordingly.
That's a great point. I think a lot of people might not consider those external factors when making sourcing decisions,
Right.
but it sounds like they can have a huge impact.
They absolutely can. And this is where tools like market intelligence platforms and industry reports can become incredibly valuable. They can help you track trends, assess supplier stability, and even get a sense of future pricing fluctuations.
So we're talking about being proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. Proactive planning can be the difference between smooth sailing and a major disruption to your operations.
All right, let's move on to step 3. Develop a sourcing strategy. I feel like this is where we really start to connect the dots between our overall business goals
Yeah.
and our sourcing activities.
It is, and this is where things start to get really interesting. It's about aligning your sourcing activities with your company's broader objectives.
Okay.
And that goes beyond just cost minimization. We're talking about maintaining quality, managing risks, promoting supplier diversity,
Yeah.
even considering factors like ethical sourcing and sustainability.
So we're not just chasing the lowest price, but we're considering the bigger picture and the long-term implications of our decisions.
Exactly. A good example is sourcing raw materials. A company might choose to work with a combination of local and international suppliers. This allows them to balance cost considerations with the potential risks that might come with relying solely on a single source, especially in times of geopolitical instability
Right.
or natural disasters.
That makes a lot of sense. Diversifying your supplier base can help mitigate risks and ensure a more stable supply chain. Okay, on to step 4. This one has a rather long title.
Yeah.
Request for information, RFI, and request for quotation proposal, RFQ, RFP. What's the purpose of these documents?
These are essential tools for gathering information from potential suppliers. Think of the RFI as a first date.
Okay.
You're getting to know them, understanding their capabilities, and seeing there's a potential fit. The RFQ, or RFP, is where things get more serious.
Okay.
You're asking for detailed proposals, including pricing breakdowns, so you can make an informed decision.
So it's like casting a net and seeing which suppliers rise to the top, But wouldn't that create a lot of paperwork to sift through?
It can, but there are ways to streamline the process.
Oh, okay.
For example, using online platforms for managing RFIs and RFPs can help centralize communication, track responses,
Mm-hmm.
and even automate some of the evaluation steps.
That sounds incredibly helpful, especially for companies dealing with a large number of potential suppliers.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example of how these documents might be used in practice?
Sure. Let's say you're a company looking for a new software provider.
Okay.
Your RFP would outline all of your specific requirements,
Mm-hmm.
including the functionalities you need, integration capabilities,
Mm-hmm.
security protocols, and any other must-haves.
Right.
You're essentially setting the stage for a successful partnership from the get-go.
So it's all about being crystal clear about your expectations right from the start.
Great.
And I imagine the questions you ask in these documents can really help you weed out suppliers who might not be the right fit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that brings us to step 5, supplier evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you put those RFI and RFP responses under the microscope and really start to analyze the details.
Okay.
It's all about due diligence. During the supplier evaluation stage, you're assessing potential suppliers based on a whole range of criteria. Obviously, pricing is important, but you're also looking at things like product quality, delivery capabilities, financial stability, their track record, and even their commitment to things like ethical sourcing and sustainability. It's a comprehensive assessment to make sure you're selecting the best possible partner.
So you're not just looking at the bottom line, you're looking at the bigger picture. I imagine different companies will have different priorities when it comes to supplier evaluation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A retailer, for example, might place a high value on fast delivery times
Oh, yeah.
and flexible return policies. They're thinking about the end customer and how to ensure a smooth and positive experience. On the other hand, a manufacturing company
Okay.
might prioritize suppliers with robust quality control processes and a proven track record of reliability.
Makes sense.
Their focus is on ensuring the integrity of their production process and minimizing any potential disruptions.
That's a great point. It really highlights how strategic sourcing is about tailoring your approach to your specific needs and goals. Okay, so once you've thoroughly evaluated your potential suppliers, it's time for step 6, negotiation and selection. What are some of the key considerations during this stage?
Negotiation is where you really fine-tune the details and hammer out the terms of your agreement. It's a collaborative process where both sides aim to reach a mutually beneficial outcome. Of course, pricing is a big part of it, but you're also negotiating things like payment terms, contract length, service levels, and even performance metrics.
So it's more than just hammering out the lowest possible price. It's about establishing a framework for a successful and sustainable partnership.
Precisely. And this is where strong communication and a willingness to find creative solutions really come into play.
Okay.
For example, a company might negotiate longer payment terms to improve their cash flow,
Right.
but at the same time, they could guarantee a certain volume of purchases to provide the supplier with some predictability and security. It's about finding that win-win scenario.
That's a great example. It shows how strategic sourcing can be beneficial for both parties involved. Okay, let's move on to the final step. Step 7, implement solutions and manage supplier relationships. So the deal is done, the contracts are signed, but the work doesn't stop there, right?
Absolutely not.
Hmm.
This is where you put the plan into action and start reaping the benefits of all your hard work. But just as importantly, it's about nurturing those supplier relationships for the long term. We're talking about ongoing communication, performance monitoring, regular feedback, and even collaborating on process improvements.
It sounds like you're really shifting from a transactional mindset to a more collaborative and partnership-oriented approach.
That's exactly right. It's about recognizing that your suppliers are more than just vendors. They're valuable partners who can contribute to your success in meaningful ways.
Yeah.
A strong supplier relationship can lead to things like preferential pricing,
Oh, wow.
early access to innovation, and even greater flexibility in meeting your evolving needs.
So you're not just managing suppliers, you're cultivating relationships that can create value for both sides. It's like a long-term investment.
It is. And one of the best ways to nurture these relationships is through regular communication and feedback.
Uh-huh.
Setting up quarterly business reviews, for example, can provide a structured forum for discussing performance, addressing any challenges, and exploring opportunities for improvement. It's about creating a sense of transparency and trust.
That makes a lot of sense. So we've now walked through all 7 steps of strategic sourcing. It's a pretty comprehensive process, but I think it's really important to step back and ask, what are the real tangible benefits of embracing this approach? What's the so what?
That's a great question, and it's one that every organization should be asking themselves. The benefits of strategic sourcing are numerous, and they can have a significant impact on your bottom line, your operational efficiency, and even your overall competitiveness.
I'm really curious to hear more about those benefits. Where would you say we see the biggest impact?
Well, first and foremost, strategic sourcing is a powerful driver of cost savings. By leveraging data-driven decision-making, negotiating effectively, and optimizing your procurement processes, you can achieve significant reductions in your spending.
And who doesn't love saving money? What else?
Another key benefit is improved efficiency,
Okay.
streamlined processes, clear communication, and strong supplier relationships all contribute to a more agile and responsive procurement function. This means faster decision-making, shorter lead times,
Right.
and less wasted time and effort.
That sounds like a win all around.
It is.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about the enhanced supplier relationships we've been discussing. These strong partnerships can go far beyond just transactions. They can lead to greater collaboration,
Yeah.
shared innovation, and even early access to new products and technologies.
So you're creating a network of strategic alliances that can help you stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly. And that network also helps you mitigate risks in your supply chain by diversifying your supplier base,
Yeah.
proactively identifying potential disruptions, and building strong relationships based on trust and transparency. You can create a more resilient and adaptable supply chain.
So it's about building that safety net, being prepared for the unexpected.
Precisely. And let's not overlook the impact on quality. Remember, strategic sourcing is about total value, not just the initial price tag.
Right.
By focusing on suppliers who share your commitment to quality and excellence,
Right.
you can ensure that you're getting the best possible products and services, which ultimately benefits your customers and enhances your reputation.
It's all connected. Happy customers, a stronger brand, a more competitive edge.
Right. And all of these benefits culminate in that competitive advantage we were talking about. By optimizing your sourcing strategies, streamlining your processes, fostering innovation through collaboration, and building a more resilient supply chain, you position your organization to thrive in today's dynamic and ever-changing marketplace.
It sounds like strategic sourcing is a powerful tool for any organization looking to not just survive, but truly thrive in the long term.
It absolutely is. And the beauty of it is that it's an ongoing journey of continuous improvement. It's about constantly reassessing your strategies, adapting to market changes, embracing new technologies, and always seeking ways to optimize your approach.
So it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. You need to stay engaged and proactive.
Exactly. It requires a commitment to excellence and a willingness to embrace innovation and change.
This has been incredibly insightful. I think we've covered a lot of ground, exploring the ins and outs of strategic sourcing, from those initial steps of identifying needs and analyzing the market, to building those long-term relationships and reaping the benefits of a truly strategic approach.
It's been a pleasure diving deep into this topic with you.
Yeah, and I think what you said is so important. It's a journey, you know? You have to constantly evolve your strategies. The world of business definitely isn't standing still.
That's right. What worked for a company 5 years ago might not be the best approach today. And that's especially true in today's rapidly evolving technological landscape. Think about how things like artificial intelligence, automation, and blockchain are transforming supply chains. These are real game changers.
That's a great point. So we're not just talking about refining existing processes. We're talking about being open to entirely new ways of doing things.
Exactly. And that requires a certain level of curiosity and a willingness to challenge the status quo. Strategic sourcing isn't about clinging to the old ways of doing things. It's about embracing innovation and constantly seeking out those new opportunities for improvement.
I love that perspective. It's not just about being efficient, it's about being innovative. So before we wrap up this deep dive, I have one final question for you. If there's one key takeaway, one thought-provoking question that our listeners should ponder as they embark on their own strategic sourcing journey, what would it be?
That's a great question. I think the most important thing to consider is this. How can you shift your mindset from transactional purchasing to building truly collaborative partnerships with your suppliers? Because at the end of the day, those partnerships are what will drive long-term success.
So it's about moving beyond that traditional buyer versus seller mentality.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that you're both in it together, working towards a shared goal. And when you approach sourcing with that collaborative mindset, some pretty amazing things can happen.
I can imagine. You're not just negotiating a contract, you're building a relationship that can benefit both sides.
That's right. And it's those relationships that will ultimately lead to greater innovation, more resilient supply chains, and a stronger competitive edge. It's a win-win for everyone involved.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on. We've covered a lot of ground today, exploring the ins and outs of strategic sourcing. And I think it's safe to say that it's more than just a procurement process. It's a strategic mindset that can transform the way you do business.
It absolutely is, and it's a journey that's well worth taking.
To all our listeners out there, we hope you found this deep dive informative and engaging. And we encourage you to take what you've learned today and start applying it to your own sourcing decisions, whether you're a seasoned procurement professional or just starting to explore this fascinating world.
Remember, strategic sourcing isn't about finding a one-size-fits-all solution. It's about tailoring your approach to your unique needs and circumstances, your industry, your company culture, your goals.
And never stop learning. The world of strategic sourcing is constantly evolving, so stay curious, stay engaged, and embrace those new ideas.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep diving deeper.